Particularly when you talk about Sri Lanka today, and you think about the things that have gone on in the past couple of weeks specifically, it's very important that we ourselves have a deep understanding of the kind of leader that we expect and that we want in the future. For this, I think it's very important for us to understand who we are. Who are we as Sri Lankans? What is this country all about? That the rest of the world is dying to come and buy our ports and our airports and our land and everything. Why is Sri Lanka so important that China is so interested in us, that America is so interested in us, that Europe wants us so badly, that the Middle East wants us so badly, that India is so interested in us? But are we as interested in Sri Lanka as the rest of the world? Why? I'll tell you why. A couple of facts. 30,000 naval vessels, 45,000 aircraft, and 4,500 oil tankers pass by our 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone every year. No trade can happen between the Middle East, the energy producers of the Middle East, and the energy consumers in the Far East without Sri Lanka being involved. Our 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone translates to 512,000 square kilometers of ocean. This is our territory. 9 times that of our landmass. 9 times. And just last year, we had a European nation spend 1 year scanning our ocean bed. Is that cooperation? I don't know. But we don't seem to have any understanding of what's going on in our own oceans, which is why our fishing and other resources are being raped and pillaged by other nations, because we just don't know. I discovered an incredible fact. 25% of Sri Lanka's landmass is gem-bearing. We all thought about Ratnapura, capital of gems and precious stones in Sri Lanka. But 25% of our land contains precious stones. The reason for that is that Sri Lanka is one of the most ancient land masses in the world. 90% of our rock is between 500 million and 2.4 billion years old. So when you go home, take a walk in your garden and know that what you're standing on is some of the most ancient places on earth. Not just in this region, but on earth. And this is why this land is precious. This is why, as leaders, as young leaders, you need to understand what's been handed to you. If any nation wants a piece of Sri Lanka, let them stand in line, knock on our door, and argue their case. Because Sri Lanka's interest comes before all. And if we are not strong enough to understand who we are and fight for who we are, we've allowed nations to come in, we've allowed nations to park themselves in the south, in the east, in the west, and we've upset neighbors, we've upset other nations that have interest in Sri Lanka, and now we have to go and pay them back. That's what you see happening today. And in order to arrest this situation, we have to stand strong. We have to stand strong, get all of these guys out of Sri Lanka and say, hey, no problem, you want to come to Sri Lanka, you come in Sri Lanka, but you invest. You invest. We're not going to sell our ports and our airports to you. We're not going to allow you to send your troops in here. Don't sell our nation for politics and for votes and for self-preservation is our only cry to our leaders. Don't sell the future of our children for a vote. Isn't that what all of us want? I'm sure it is. We can build this nation. We have the leadership, we have the vision, we have the ability. And the reason I brought examples from history is because we have done it in history. Long before much of these nations even existed. And that is what runs in each of your veins today. Every single one of you sitting here today carries that in your DNA. Impossible is nothing if we understand what we hold in our hands, if we understand who we are. I want you to do one more thing. Most of you raised your hands. I'd like you to please stand up. If you raised your hand, please stand up. Thank you. I'd like you to look around. Just look around. Look at the person next to you. Look at the person behind you. Just take a look. Are you alone? Are you alone? No, you're not alone. You're all standing. Please take a seat. You raised your hand, you stood up, you looked around and realized that you're not alone. You raised your hand because you wanted better for Sri Lanka. You stood up because you took a stand for Sri Lanka. And when you looked around, you realized that you're not alone. My dear friends, remember, let's all take a stand for this beautiful nation we love. And don't just think about it. Stand up because you are not alone. Thank you.